the station designed with you in mind, serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
This is Rob Butler, and today I want to talk a little more about the McNeese Cowboys. I have them as my sleeper team this fall. Most preseason polls have the Cowboys picked fourth. I'm going to go on record and say that the Southland is wide open. You could alphabetize Incarnate Word, McNeese, Nichols, and Southeastern and have just as great a chance in predicting the final conference standings as any preseason poll. I really do believe that McNeese could win the Southland this season. Now first, let's talk about Isaiah Chambers. When Isaiah Chambers came to town, he was just looking for a place to play football. He never imagined all he would have to go through to do just that. Now, on the verge of finally getting a chance to play for McNeese in the fall, the defensive end is reaping the rewards of his hard work and decision to stay through all the troubles. The reigning Southland Conference Defensive Player of the Year has been named to the Stats Perform FCS preseason All-American team. It was announced Monday. Chambers, who lost everything he owned and his apartment during Hurricane Laura, never considered leaving McNeese after transferring from the University of Houston. So he stayed and led the Cowboys with an All-American spring season, earning honors as the top defensive college player in all of Louisiana, according to the state sports writers. That includes players from LSU and other FBS programs. Chambers finished fourth in the spring when it came to voting for the prestigious Buck Buchanan Award as the nation's top defensive player in all of the FCS. He was named a consensus All-American. In 7 games, the defensive end collected 7.5 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, ranking him tops in the Southland Conference and second in FCS. He finished with 32 tackles and a team-high 11 quarterback hurries. He was also named the Southland Conference's Defensive Player of the Week twice. Now let's talk about some impact transfers. It's been a year of change within the McNeese football program. Lots of comings and goings for the Cowboys, who lost players through the NCAA transfer portal, but they also gained some. That has left the Cowboys, like everyone else in college football, piecing together a roster with more than a few moving parts. But that hasn't slowed down McNeese head football coach Frank Wilson at all. Instead, he has proclaimed that while he might miss those who left, he loves those who have come in. For every player that entered the transfer portal, they've replaced with an all-conference player. And for the players that ended their eligibility, they've added some quality players who will make an immediate impact either now or in the future. Time will tell if Wilson's hope is hype or fact. With fall camp opening this week, let's take a look at 5 transfers to watch. Number 5, Corian Harris, cornerback from Kansas. Harris was a 4-star recruit coming out of Landry Walker High School in New Orleans. He picked Kansas over such schools as Georgia, LSU, and Oklahoma, joining up with former Tigers head coach Les Miles in Lawrence. He was a starter off and on and saw time in most games during his 3 seasons at Kansas. Harris should provide McNeese with needed talent in the secondary to combat a league loaded with high-powered offenses. Harris was rated the 6th best player in Louisiana as a senior in high school. Having played in the wide-open Big 12, he will be counted on to help eliminate big plays that proved costly early in the spring season. Number 4, Jamon Eford, linebacker, Oregon. A consensus 4-star prospect at Deerfield Beach High School in Florida, the sophomore played in 10 games in 2019 at Oregon. Rated the number 10 linebacker in the nation coming out of high school, Eford has a chance to make an impact early on the defense, which was lacking at linebacker in the spring. At 6'1", 230 pounds, he is fast enough to handle runners swinging out of the backfield and still make tackles all over the field. Used mostly on special teams, Eford will get a fresh start on a defense that improved greatly during the 7 spring games. One area Wilson said he wanted to improve on when it came to the defensive side of the ball was guys who can make plays. Eford should be able to fill that role. Number 3, Romello Tarver, offensive lineman, Central Michigan. Filling a void, the 6'5", 272-pound sophomore adds talent and depth to a group that was short on both in the spring. Tarver should help fix that. He hasn't played on the field since his days at Oxbridge Academy in Delray Beach, Florida in 2017. That makes the 22-year-old fresh when it comes to health, but inexperienced when it comes to playing on the field. So his learning curve may be a little steeper, but the talent appears to be there. In high school, Tarver posted 205 career pancake blocks. He helped lead his high school team to an 11-2 season that ended with a loss in the state title game. 4 years in the weight room could pay off for Tarver. Number 2, C.J. Powell, wide receiver, Louisiana Tech. Quarterback Cody Ogeron's most reliable target, transfer Trevor Beggy, exited by way of the NCAA transfer portal, and Powell entered. Athletically, it seems to be an upgrade, as Powell is a former All-State player in high school in Louisiana. He had his best season at Tech in 2020, catching 37 passes for 271 yards. He also returned 3 punts for 38 yards. The graduate transfer was named honorable mention on the 2020 All-Conference USA team. He should bring speed and the ability to stretch the field both vertically and horizontally. Wilson said getting more playmakers on offense was one of the big needs for McNeese this offseason. Opening the field should help the running game. And number 1, Stephon Hutterson, running back, Tulane. When you're forced to use your backup quarterback as your tailback in games, there is need for talent and depth at the position. Hutterson gives the Cowboys both. He was a late addition to the roster, but Hutterson is a senior who played 4 seasons at Tulane, gaining over 1,300 yards and averaging 5.3 yards per carry. He was at his best in 2020. Last fall, he won the second-team All-Conference honors in the American Athletic Conference. He finished with over 770 yards and 4 touchdowns, averaging 6 yards per carry. Hutterson had 3 100-yard-plus games last season. He has appeared in 44 games over the last 4 seasons and should be a big part of the McNeese offense. He joins a backfield that has experience at the FCS level. Giving the Cowboys another rushing weapon should keep running backs fresh throughout the season. Wilson said impact transfers could put McNeese back into the title contention race in the Southland despite what was lost. Now I want to get into home games, and I want to bring you back to 2015. It was late fall in 2015, and McNeese was in a festive mood. The Cowboys had won the Southland Conference, earning a home playoff game after a first-round bye, and they had a 10-0 record. As then head coach Matt Viator and the rest of the football team got ready to play for the first postseason game, they came to find out that for all their hard work, they were rewarded by playing an all-too-familiar opponent. They were slated to play conference rival Sam Houston. On their way to the Southland title that season, McNeese beat Sam Houston easily in Lake Charles during the regular season. The 27-0 win came 2 days shy of a month before their playoff game. It was also the game that clinched the conference title. McNeese lost the rematch 34-29, blowing a chance to take the lead late when it had the ball a yard from the goal line on first down. The loss was a game changer for the program, which has not been to the postseason since. Viator left for Louisiana Monroe. The Cowboys are on their third head coach, and Sam Houston led a group of 5 teams exiting the Southland. It's hard to beat a team twice, especially at the Division I level. This becomes important this season as the watered-down Southland is forcing each one of its 6 football schools to play 3 teams in home games. Southland Commissioner Tom Burnett, speaking at Southland Media Day last week, stated that this was not a permanent solution. Burnett also said he had no idea when the schedule might change. He admitted that there are no talks about league expansion, although he hopes to pick something up in 60 to 90 days. This makes for new challenges for coaches, as rarely do teams play an opponent twice in a season in college football. It's considered unfair to the winner of the first game. There are a lot of good teams in the South End, and beating them twice won't be easy at all. So what does this mean for the league? Over the years, the South End has gotten multiple playoff bids, but that was when it was considered one of the elite FCS conferences, not so much now. Before, it was about who you didn't play when the league had 11 football teams and 8 conference games. Now it's about who you play twice. It'll make for a unique season with certain challenges. Now finally, I want to get into the Independence Bowl and McNeese, a little bit of that history. Not many realize this, but the Independence Bowl actually started with the Southland Conference. In 1975, the Shreveport-Bossier City Sports Foundation came up with the idea of starting a postseason bowl game. After receiving approval from the NCAA, the inaugural game would be played in 1976, the year of America's bicentennial, In an area with a strong military presence, the game was dubbed the Independence Bowl. During the early years of the Independence Bowl, the Southland Conference provided its conference champion as the host for the event. McNeese captured the crown in 1976 and squared off against Tulsa, winning the inaugural Independence Bowl game over Tulsa 20-16. Now, McNeese's other two bowl appearances didn't go so well. They lost to Syracuse 31-7 in 1979, and they lost to Southern Miss 16-14 in 1980. There's no doubt that the Cowboys could improve on this record if they ever join an FBS conference, and the question may not be if, but when. And that's Rob Butler, Open Mic Broadcast Network.
The Open Mic Broadcast Network would like to take this time to recognize its sponsors and underwriters: Attorney Lee Van Richardson, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, Prairie View Athletic Club, Temple of Refuge Ministries, Reflections Paint and Body Shop, Helping Hands Lawn Service, the Hotline Press newspaper of Hempstead, Texas, Diva Skin Conditioner, Purple Drip, Daiquiri, and Grill. For more information on how you can become an underwriter or a sponsor here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, our number to call is 832-213-8824. Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
And welcome back to the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. Radio guy Dr. Mike Prince, and we're going back to South Carolina, where we're going to get educated, if you would, by our good friend, Coach Andre Payne. Coach, how you been, sir?
I've been doing well, very well. How you about yourself?
Well, I dare not complain, trying to stay out this Delta variant way and pleading the blood everywhere I go and every step I take, sir.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, the part of the reason that we invited you back on, during our conversation, it was brought up and it struck some of our listening audience about the 11 junior colleges that are HBCU-based, and we felt like what better person to help educate us than yourself to bring us up to speed, because you are at one of those schools at Denmark Technical College, correct?
Correct. I am. It's located in Denmark, South Carolina.
Okay, and first, bring us up to speed on the locales, if you have that information, of these schools, and are they strictly institutional only, or are there athletics involved with them, and how is this operating? Okay.
Well, yeah, some are as far as participating in athletics, and some are not. Some are just academics only. We start off with, you have Bishop State Community College, which is in Mobile, Alabama. I know that for sure that they do play basketball there. You have Clinton College, which is in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Now, Clinton College, actually, they play at the 4-year level, but I think the situation with them, they offer associate degrees for as a community college, and then they also, now there are certain degrees where you can continue on and get a 4-year education. You have Kahoma Community College, which is in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And I know that they do have athletics. As a matter of fact, they also have football. You have the University of District of Columbia Community College, which is in Washington, D.C. Of course, there's Denmark Technical College, which we're located in Denmark, South Carolina. And we have athletics. You got Hines Community College in Utica, the Utica campus, because, Hines do have a couple branches, but the Utica campus is considered an HBCU. You got Shorter College, which is in North Little Rock, Arkansas. And I think I may have played them some years ago when I was at Texas College. And you got Southern University of Shreveport, which is in Shreveport, Louisiana. Nice campus. I know the head coach there well, David Francis. They do have athletics. And then Southwest Christian College, which is in Terrell, Texas. I know them very well. Herb Evans, who was a longtime coach there, whose father, Dr. Jack Evans, was the president there for maybe 45, 46 years, somewhere in that range. I know it was in the 40s, early to mid-40s, the number of years he was the president there. And then you have St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas. And then you have Trenholm State Community College, which is in Montgomery, Alabama. Now, that was a shocker for me because I'm from Auburn, Alabama, and had never heard of it. So those are the schools, the community college and junior colleges that are considered HBCUs.
Man, you're talking about an eye-opener. I'm sitting up here listening to you. Didn't realize it had the southern base that it does have when you talk about the Alabama, the Mississippis, and the Texases. And that is very enlightening and intriguing because we normally think of the HBCUs, we think of the 107 that we constantly think of that makes up the NAIA and Division II, Division I programs. But there's an opportunity to learn with an HBCU blueprint all across the gamut, and that's very exciting to hear.
Yes, it is, Mike. I mean, you're talking about, and, you know, one of the things that's important, people have to realize, a lot of our four-year institutions that are HBCUs started off as, you know, community college vocational schools and, you know, and migrated up to being the four-year level. And so, and these are, you know, a few that, you know, just continued on to be community college, you know, throughout the years. And sometimes people forget about them or just don't know, or may not even know that they're HBCUs because their population may be such high numbers in Caucasian or other race students.
Okay, but when the dust settles, it's an HBCU foundation. Therefore, it needs to be recognized and, let's say, supported in the same manner that we try to support the other 107 that we are aware of. We're talking right now with Coach Andre Payne of the Denmark Technical Panthers College out of South Carolina, and bringing us up to speed about the HBCUs from the Juco spectrum. Now, when it comes to athletics, and I know budgets are restrictions on all of them, especially when you talk about Juco ranks, do any of these schools intertwine with each other when it comes to competition on the athletic part?
Well, because they are spread out, most of them don't. It would be something in the future that I would love to do to put on a HBCU Juco Classic. Now, there's a former boss of mine, Dr. William Crosby, who, when I first started at Wilder, he was the athletic director for my first year, and then he retired. I spoke with him a few months ago, and he actually played for Coahoma Community College, and you know he's up in age now, I think in his late 70s, and he like me. He said, "Well, Coach, where are you?" I said, "Well, I'm at Denmark Technical College," and he said, "I know exactly where that is." He said, "We used to come out there every year and play them in football." And he said, "Y'all right next door to Voorhees, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." And so he said, back in the day, a lot of those community colleges before the HBCUs played each other, especially in football, because, you know, the PWI community college would not play them. So they had no choice but to play each other.
Isn't that something?
Yeah,
well, so I guess it struck up a creative flow in you, I'm assuming, that say, hey, man, let's try to get some type of basketball tournament, because it seemed like that would be easier to try to put together than that of a football or any other sport. And have you started that process yet?
Well, I've spoken with Clinton, and we're going to do a scrimmage. We can't actually play a game against each other because they now actually participate on the 4-year level for their athletics. But my plan is to try to find a neutral central location that all of the, you know, several of the HBCU JUCOs who participate in athletics can meet up and play in men's and women's basketball. Because I think it would be great. I think we could use it as a recruitment opportunity for, you know, to bring all of us at a central location, and not only just for athletics, academically, because those 4-year institutions could send their recruiters down to the Classic to set up tables and recruit those students who attend the JUCOs, to, you know, because they have to transfer somewhere. I mean, why not
sir, no doubt.
HBCU?
No doubt at all. Now, it seems to me, and I can kind of see that in my mind, Coach, that you have, I'm assuming, a 2-3 day tournament / workshop of introducing yourselves and potential students to be a possible match, and in turn get some good basketball play and just the old rivals kicked up, and it'd be a win-win for everyone.
It really would. Be a win-win for everyone. And that way, you know, some of these HBCUs at the from the 4-year level, hey, what greater thing than sit in the gym and hear you is with, you know, 4 to 6 HBCU schools, Jucos playing against each other, competing against each other, and you're able to sit there and recruit right there in one spot.
Yes, sir.
Without having to travel all over the United States.
Yes, sir.
And you know, and most of us, some of those HBCU JUCOs do have a great population. Some of them small, like us, you know, around about 500-600 students. So those students are looking for maybe the smaller HBCU to transfer to, because that's what they're accustomed to, the small classroom size, you know. And I think they would form well or do very well in the setting of maybe another small 4-year HBCU.
Yes, sir. Now let me ask you this, Coach, because while my wheels over here spinning, with that tournament, and I'm going under the terms of a tournament, with that being on the horizon, what time of year would be best to play a tournament like that? And if you had to pick a central location now, I know you don't have a place exclusively selected, what area do you think this would be a best fit to have this tournament?
I would say you would like to do it somewhere where it's not too large. Like, for example, if you did it in Atlanta, right? See, Atlanta has pro football. They have a lot of HBCUs. So that wouldn't draw like maybe, say, a smaller city that doesn't have a pro football team or something like that, but does have the gym, but does have some type of attraction. Let's say like a Birmingham, somewhere of that nature, or like maybe a Montgomery, you know, where it still, the alumni could have something to do after the games are over, but at the same time is a big enough city that has the venues for its hotels and the malls and things of that nature, the other things that people like to do besides just go and sit and watch the game. I think something like that would be great. But you want to have it in somewhere, you wouldn't want to have it somewhere where it's rural and isolated and there's not a lot of outside amenities after the game.
Okay. And the time of year that you think this would be a better fit?
I would try to do it like a tip-off classic. You know, when none of the teams have to worry about interrupting any of their conference games or anything of that nature. Just a nice little tip-off classic.
Okay, somewhere between October and November, something like that?
Yes, somewhere between October, late October, because we typically start playing Juco ball as early as October the 30th, November 1, November 2, maybe somewhere in that range there.
Okay. And that, man, sounds like a pretty good design and plan, sir. That would be a very beneficial, let's say, source of entertainment and value for all parties involved. We're talking right now with Coach Andre Payne of Denmark Technical College, Juco College with HBCU flavor, and we're just bringing us up to speed on all of the other HBCUs that make up this close circuit. Now, with that being said, we know that this is about academia first and athletics second, because I know that scholarships are more than likely limited, but it's still a great opportunity for a person to extend their playing career as well as add to their educational progress.
Oh, yes, it really is. I think something like this is possible to pull off. You know, when I was coaching on the Division I level, I talked with several schools about trying to do an HBCU Classic. But you know, the biggest thing that stopped us from doing it, because it would eliminate a guaranteed game. You know, if you went and played, if you met in Atlanta and let's just say 3 MEACs and 3 SWAC schools decided to go and come and play, and you played 2 games. Well, that's 2 games that you would not have to possibly go out and make money. And that's hard selling to an administration. that we're going to go and play a game and compete and spend money, but we're not going to be able to bring those $300,000 to $500,000. $50,000 to $90,000 check home for that we're giving up just to go play in this classic. But in junior college, you don't have to worry about that because you're not getting any guaranteed games. So you're not worried about, hey, I only have a 30-game limit and I can't afford to give up a guaranteed game, because that's not happening on the junior college level.
Okay. Do you think it would be beneficial to try to make it somewhat of a guarantee for the JUCOs involved? And I'm just saying, not a huge guarantee, but maybe help with their rooms or with some of their travel to make it more interesting for them to be a part of it?
I think that would help tremendously, especially if you could help offset the cost of the trip. Is because I don't think many of those presidents would be looking to make anything off of it, because we don't, on the junior college level, you don't have programs to generate funds. You pretty much on the junior college level, you have those programs because you want to help with the enrollment. Of course that generates funds. So therefore, if you could, I don't think a president would have any problem if you could say, well, Mr. President or Madam President, we have our hotels paid for. We have our flight or the drive paid for, and maybe even a portion of the food. But that's about getting sponsorship. And just like a lot of us are not aware of the JUCOs, the HBCU, there are corporate sponsors that's not aware. So maybe they would jump on it and be glad to put their name on something like this, an event like this, because it's different.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. It's unique in its own way. And to be quite honest with you, it would not be as expensive of a sponsorship for a corporation or even a local entity that would be in the proximity of where the tournament would be held, or even some of the support schools where these but where these schools reside in, that say, you know what, we'll help sponsor you guys to get there and bring it back for the community. So, man, sounds like a very fantastic plan and idea. How many teams do you think would be ideal for something like this to fly?
The first year, I would say maybe start off with 4, and you alternate where you play 2 games and then build it up, because once they see everybody else see that what it did, and you can come back and show the numbers, you may be able to move that thing up to 6 or 8 teams the following year. I give an example, as I said, a city that you could go and have it like Southern Shreveport. And look at me trying to ask them to be willing to host this. But you're in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is a nice sized city. But at the same time, they don't have a pro football team. So they don't have a lot of other what you call athletic distractions. They don't have a major 4-year university there that demands the attention of the whole city. So, but at the same time, they have the casino, which is an attraction, because I think at one point in time, the SWAC was even playing their tournament in
yes, sir,
in Shreveport. So you're talking about Southern Shreveport, who's a HBCU JUCO. Maybe they would be willing to host it, because they definitely have the attraction with the hotels and things of that nature. But yet it'll be a great event. That's something unique that I think people and corporations maybe would jump on the bandwagon to support.
Well, I don't see it being any possible problem at all. In fact, I think it's a brilliant idea, and I want to be on record to let you know that anything that the Open Mic can do to help you coordinate and plan that, please don't hesitate to let us know, and we'll promote it from every which way from this end to help you get that word out there and help even try to find you some sponsorships to help make this become a reality.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate that, Mike. And it's great to know that you will, help get the word out, because I know your listeners will tell other people about this, and that it just will become a snowball effect, or a domino effect. It just gets bigger and bigger and grow, And I just think it'd be something awesome.
Oh, I know it would be something awesome. And the thing that makes basketball so attractive is not necessarily a whole bunch of moving parts to make something like this happen. and there still would be enough interest where you would have the right people to say, let's make this happen.
Yes, indeed. I like football. When they're playing a classic, you got to worry about the football team that's, 80-something guys and the staff and everybody along with them. It takes it over 100 plus. The band, their cheerleaders. There's a lot of dynamics when you're talking about traveling HBCU because, we can't go anywhere without the band now in football.
Right.
But in basketball, you don't have to worry about that. You just call a couple of the local high schools and say, hey, with your pep band, like to come over here and play at the game. Or you maybe get somebody to create a battle of the band at halftime.
Or you can even get old DJ. You can get a DJ, man, and be done with it.
That's it.
Pay somebody a couple of $100 and say, hey, spin it away. Just don't be cussing my folks out during the game.
There you go, man. That's the great thing about basketball. All you got to do is to get a DJ to turn on some music, and guess what? You'll forget that you don't even have a band there.
Yes, sir. We got an instant block party. We're talking with Andre Payne of the Denmark Panthers in South Carolina, talking about the HBCUs from the Juco and the possibilities of putting together a tournament, which sounds like a very fascinating idea that I'm hoping can get off the ground more sooner than later. Coach, if you had to put pen to paper right now, how long do you think it would take for something like this to be coordinated to make it become a reality?
I think you could do it right now. If started right now, we could make this happen for the tip off of the 22-23 season. Because, like I said, the difference between your junior colleges and your four-year institutions, see, we don't have long-term deals for games, in the future. A lot of times at your 4 year, especially your Division I HBCU, you may have already 6. If you have 9 games available to play before you start conference, you may have 6 of those games already locked in because you're in a long-term contract. But that doesn't happen at Juco. So you don't. That's the headache you don't have to deal with.
Man, this is sounding better and better. As the old folks say, it sounds gooder and gooder the more I hear it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, look, I tell you what, we're going to keep this line open and we're going to keep this conversation flowing because I think, as I say, you're on to something big, and hopefully someone that's listening can say, hey, you know what? We want to be a part of this thing too. Let's make this happen. Coach, how could they get in contact with you to help put some legs in action here?
Sure. First, let me just give out my number where they can reach me at 803-570-0028, or I can be reached by email at Payne, that's Payne, A as in apple, at Denmark, Denmark, Tech, TECH.edu.
Okay. Give that phone number out one more time, Coach.
803-570-0028.
All right. Coach Andre Payne with Denmark Technical Panthers, talking basketball, talking HBCU, and talking Juco College, all the things that we love here at the Open Mic, Coach. I want to give you an opportunity to have some closing thoughts and comments, sir, and the floor is now yours.
Look, Mike, I want to say I appreciate you for allowing me to come on here and just chop it up with you about these HBCU Jucos. Little unheard of sometimes, of institutions, but these institutions have played an integral part in prepping our young men and women to go on to four-year institutions. And, for example, like a school like Denmark Technical College, where you can go and get your degree in cosmetology and barbering and plumbing, certificates in those. My president, he says all the time, when your air go out, you don't call a doctor. When your water stop working, you don't call a lawyer. You call a plumber. You call an HVC guy to come out and work on your air conditioning and repair. So therefore, these institutions are doing big things, in society today. And sometimes they're just not talked about because don't get the love or get the notoriety of the four-year institution.
So, sir, I heard it said that an education is the key and the gateway to a better way of living. And it starts somewhere. It starts in elementary, and if you're fortunate enough to go post-secondary, anything can help make a difference with a certification, a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate. It's all about educating that mind. Coach, I thank you so much for being a part. He is Andre Payne at Denmark Technical College in South Carolina. He didn't stretched out there on us, y'all, but he's out there making it happen, serving as athletic director and head basketball coach of the Panthers. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline with 13 different locations to serve you in the Texas area. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.